These are the top 3 mistakes that I see retirees make. And believe me, after being a fee-only financial advisor for over 20 years, I've seen some doozy of mistakes, and I don't want to see you do the same thing. So let's go for a walk and I'll share with you what these are. Okay, the first one has several layers to it, so stick with me. And that is a failure to plan. Well, no kidding, Azul. Of course, you're a financial planner, but let me tell you what I mean by this. The first one is failing to plan for the cost of healthcare. Now, at 65, you're likely going to qualify for Medicare, but even with that, in the United States, the average lifetime cost after 65, including Medicare covering all these other expenses, believe it or not, is a little over $150,000 per person. It's $152,000 a year per person, according to Fidelity. So if you're in a relationship, a partnership, that's over $300,000 that you and your spouse, you and your partner need to be thinking about. And a lot of folks aren't planning on that. They're thinking Medicare is going to cover my healthcare costs. And it's a great thing to have, but it doesn't cover everything, unfortunately. The next thing I see, if you don't have a plan, if you're not working with somebody, if you're not watching videos like this to educate yourself and think about these issues, is if you don't have a financial plan, then how do you know how much money to spend a year? And unfortunately, what I see is people doing what I call sacrificing unnecessarily. They don't know how much they could spend. And when we do the math for them, when we help them with a plan, it's not unusual that they could have been spending a third more or 50% more. And if that's the case, you want to know that, right? And you also, conversely, sometimes I have to be the bearer of bad news. And you know what? You're spending too much money and you're sacrificing your financial security in the future. So you want to have a pretty good idea of about how much money you can spend so you can make the right decision for you and your family. Okay. Next aspect is not thinking about Social Security, not planning through it and making sure they're given a thoughtful decision as to when they take Social Security. There's the financial aspects to it, and then there's the non-financial aspects. And you know what? There is no right or wrong answer. There's different break-even ages, but people take Social Security for many, many reasons. In fact, I did a video on this if you want to look at my channel. It's super important. And the answer to when to take Social Security is not just a quantitative, it's not just a calculation, it's also who you are and what's important to you. Okay, another big one. What's going to impact your investment success over time? Like 3/4 of your investment success over time has to do with your asset allocation. What percent of your portfolio, high level, is exposed to stocks, exchange traded funds, mutual funds, tools like that, things that are going to go up and down, unfortunately, every month, versus bonds. Essentially what percent is in equity and what percent is in bonds. And you want to make sure that that's a match for you, because if you're not sure it's a match for you, when you're going to find out is when things are scary. If you have too much exposure to stocks, if the stock market's down 30, 40, possibly 50%, it's happened before. That's what happened in 2008, 2009. The stock market was down over 50%. Almost, I believe it was just a little bit more than 60%. And if you're overexposed in stocks, you've got a bunch of sleepless nights in front of you if you're lucky. If you're unlucky, you're going to succumb to that fear, and you're going to sell your stocks at exactly the wrong time. And you don't want to do that. That can have a devastating impact on your retirement. Okay, number 2 is, I hate to say it, I'm a father myself, but it's over supporting adult children that can take care of themselves. We all want to be helpful. We want to help our kids out. Maybe it's super hard to buy a first house now. Maybe we want to help them buy a first house, or, give them some money towards a new car. Maybe they want to go to graduate school, and maybe we helped out quite a bit for undergrad, and we're like, should we help out with that as well? you know what, here's my thinking on it. The best gift that we can give our kids is for us to be financially independent. Now, anything you have above and beyond that, do whatever you want with, obviously. But they do have mortgages to buy a house. They do have car loans to buy a car. They do have student loans to get your graduate degree, if that's what they want to do. You know what kind of loan they don't have? They don't have retirement loans. So we need to make sure that we're financially secure so our kids don't have to worry about that. So that's number 2. And the third one, I got to say, is probably the most painful one for me to see. And that is when folks are not thinking about when they retire and they end up retiring too late. And unfortunately, how I see this play out is, it's all too easy in your 50s and your early 60s to assume that your health is going to last a long time and to keep working. But what I've seen happen is people have a heart attack or a stroke or they die. And they never had a chance to have some of the fun of all the sacrificing that they made. And it just breaks my heart when I see that. And the stroke and the heart attack situation, sometimes those can have debilitating impacts long term. And oftentimes the other spouse is the one that's the caregiver for that person. And sometimes that spouse that's taking care of the spouse that had a stroke and now has physical limitations, sometimes the other spouses, they're resentful. We didn't get to do all these things we planned our whole life to enjoy. And why did we sacrifice that? If you are sacrificing that, I want you to think about why you're sacrificing it. There is no right or wrong answer. That's for you to decide. But I want you to be thoughtful and I want you to be deliberate about when you decide to retire. And that's really one of the reasons that I started this channel, was to help people. One of the things that I want to help people with is to help them think about, and be deliberate about when they retire. You've heard me say it before. If you're 60 years old, unfortunately, we only have 1,000 weeks of healthy, active time. And so we want to be thinking about this planning. We want to be ready for retirement when it comes. We don't want to make mistakes. And one of the biggest mistakes that we can make, think about how long it takes to save up your money. And now your nest egg is bigger. And unfortunately, we can be subject to scammers. And there's this video here that talks about the 5 things that retirees should never disclose to anybody. I don't want you to get impacted by scammers, so watch this video. I'll see you in there. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.